2021. Howdy, Texans. My name is Brandon Burkhart, and I am the president of This Is Texas Freedom Force, the nonprofit organization that works on the preservation of Texas history as well as Texans' rights. Y'all have seen us around since 2017 fighting to protect our history across the state. In Houston, 1,500 of you stood with us armed to protect the Sam Houston Monument from Antifa who threatened to vandalize it. Hundreds of you stood with us in Dallas, Texas, whenever we stood up for the Robert E. Lee Monument as well as the Confederate War Memorial that sat in Pioneer Park. Others of you stood with us in Travis Park in San Antonio, Texas, when we fought against the tyrannical city council Ron Nirenberg and Roberto Trevino. Thousands upon thousands of you stood with us in our 4-year fight to save the Alamo Cenotaph from George P. Bush as well as the liberal city council in San Antonio. And most importantly, the 150 men that stood armed outside of the Alamo when the BLM said that they were going to burn the Alamo to the ground. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you helping out and volunteering your time to help save our Texas history. But Texans, we need your help once more. Today I'm coming to you with a message that's directed at the GOP, Texas GOP precinct chairmen, Texas GOP delegates, as well as conservative constitutionalist Texans. We need your help once again. Y'all know we've pressed a monument protection bill for 3 legislative sessions. Back in the 85th legislative session was the first year we filed our bill. Unfortunately, there was not a lot of support for it at that time because monuments weren't being removed up until that couple months before the session started. They weren't really going after them here in the great state of Texas. This was happening in Louisiana and else places. But it came to us. The fight came to us. We tried to get it passed, and even though we had a Republican majority in the Senate, in the House, the governor, and lieutenant governor, monument protection failed. We rallied the troops around Texas, spent thousands upon thousands of miles traveling across Texas, getting supporters to help us back monument protection for the 86th legislative session. There, we were able to get monument protection passed through the Senate, only to die inside the House, a Republican-led House, with a Republican governor and a Republican lieutenant governor. During the 87th legislative session, after 97.3% of all conservative Texans said pass a monument protection bill and leave the Alamo Cenotaph alone, with a Republican majority in the House, a Republican majority in the Senate, a Republican governor, and a Republican lieutenant governor, we were a surefire bet that we were going to get our bill passed. There were only 10 priority bills on the GOP for Texas this last legislative session. Many of those priorities failed. Not because of Democrat opposition, but because of rhinos that held office. This is absolutely disgraceful to Texans everywhere. We, the people, are their bosses. They represent us. Many of you have tried to rectify that problem by trying to help out with grassroots candidates, true conservatives, true constitutionalists that are fighting to get into office so that these priority bills can be passed. And for that, we thank you very much. But we need your help once again getting monument protection resolution put through so that way it can become a priority bill for the Republican Party once more, and we will see monument protection passed in the 88th legislative session. Here's how you can help. You can go to our website at txfreedomforce.org. There, we've got on our main page a description of what you have to do to basically get a resolution put up at your local precinct chairman. This is going to happen where you vote at on election day. All the explanation is there. If you don't know exactly where you're voting at, we've put a button in there so that you can find who's your county chair and ask them where these meetings are going to be taking place. It's the precinct chairman committee meeting. You don't have to run for precinct chairman. You don't have to run for a delegate. All you have to do is show up to these meetings and tell them, I want monument protection put on the list. Also on our website, we've added 3 resolutions that concern our Texas history. 2 monument protection and 1 protecting the Alamo and the Alamo Cenotaph. We ask that you can copy and paste these and print them out and take 4 or 5 copies with you just in case, so that way when you go to these meetings tomorrow, you will be able to push your resolution and hand it over to them in writing. It's only a paragraph or 2, not very long. All you have to do is read from the page and then hand the page over to the person, the precinct chairman, who's running the meeting. We also added 2 graphics that you can print and add if you'd rather do that, and hand those over at the meeting tomorrow. But we have got to have Texans across the state fighting for monument protection. We've come way too far to protecting our Texas history to turn around and get lax about things at this time. If you guys can help us out, if Texans, if you'll step up and help us out, get monument protection put on the priority bills list. Members, directors, and supporters of This Is Texas Freedom Force will do our job, spending thousands upon thousands of hours at the Capitol lobbying these House representatives, these senators, to get monument protection passed. We've gotten pretty professional and pretty good at what we do up there, seeing that we've been there 3 legislative sessions doing this stuff over and over again. But it's going to take you going to that meeting, spending maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half there to push that resolution and get it on. Once your local precinct has voted, then you'll be able to push that to the county. And then the county can okay it and push it up to the state, which then the priorities will be listed for the entire state. Once again, we've added some links and stuff to help you guys out on our website there at txfreedomforce.org, so that way you can see this process and show up. It's really, really simple. We're not asking you to decipher legal jargon or anything of that nature. All we're asking you to do is go in there when it's your turn to talk and push your resolution, to stand up and read that piece of paper, or stand up and say, I want monument protection put on a priority bill. Texans, since the 87th legislative session ended this last time, we've lost 3 monuments across the state. Not only that, but 200 bricks just last week were removed from Georgetown, Texas, just outside the courthouse, that had the names of not only Confederate soldiers, but U.S. veteran soldiers on there as well. Now the cancel culture has turned their attention towards the monument that sits there in front of the courthouse. This monument is actually pretty precious to Texas because it's the first monument in Texas history to integrate a lighting system inside the monument itself, the very first of its kind here in Texas. The cancel culture will continue to fight to remove our Texas history, because as long as that Texas history is there to teach our children, they can't push their narrative. It's up to you guys to go in and fight to help save our Texas history. This is Texas Freedom Force can do everything in our power, but this is something that we need every Texan to step up and do. All you have to do is show up again at the voting polls tomorrow when they close, and I would be there a little early. And as soon as the polls close, ask, where is the Republican precinct chairman meeting taking place? They will direct you to there, or you can hit the button on our website and call your county chair and ask them, where is this meeting taking place? Sometimes they hold it in the back room in the same building. Sometimes it's in the foyer. Sometimes it's done online. So that's why we added this county chairman's information, that you type in your address. It will tell you exactly who your county chairperson is. You can contact them. They can let you know exactly where you need to go tomorrow. An hour or 2 of your time is not asking a lot to protect our Texas history. Texans, we have to stand together. We have to fight to protect who we are as Texans, our belief systems, where we came from. If you don't believe that they're not trying to rewrite our history, you need not look any further than the Alamo itself. Today, the City Council, and of course George P. Bush, would still like to be able to rewrite our Texas history and honor the Mexican soldiers that fought there, to be able to honor Santa Anna, the tyrant that came in and murdered the Alamo defenders. We're Texans. Never surrender nor retreat runs through our blood. We don't have the word give up in our vocabulary. We have to fight for what we believe in. We have to fight for our Texas history. Being able to walk up and touch a monument, read words of wise men that came before us, being able to see the artwork that was done in the late 1800s and the early 1900s is something that we ought to be in awe of. For many of those monuments, they're veteran monuments, especially the Confederate ones. Their ancestors, some of them, only have those monuments to go in to pay their respects. So we're asking you, please help us push this resolution through the Republican Party one more time. And this is Texas Freedom Force will fight like hell to make sure monument protection becomes a reality in the 88th legislative session. God bless Texas. God bless our Texas history. And I hope that y'all will go out tomorrow and help us.